Hey, how we doing today? So we're taking a look at spending multiplier. This is an important concept in macroeconomics, okay? And there's spending and there's the money multiplier, two different concepts, but the math is basically the same. So when you get one, the other one becomes kind of easy. So we start off with this, and this is how I usually start off with my students. I say, all right, if I gave you $100, how much of it would you spend and how much of it would you save? So I'll ask you that question right now. If I gave you $100, how much would you spend and how much would you save? Okay? In there lies your propensity to save and propensity to consume. Okay, so let's say you said $50. Well, your marginal propensity to consume, like use that money for consumption, would be 0.5. And then your marginal propensity to save would be 0.5, because you can only do two things with money: save it or spend it. So if we take a look at this scenario right here, if your marginal propensity to save is 0.1, that means your marginal propensity to consume has to be 0.9, because those numbers have to equal 1. Okay, you can only do two things with money: save it or spend it. Consumption. Okay, so both those numbers are good to know. Okay, both those numbers are good to know. You need to know you want, because they obviously play off each other, right? If you have one, you can easily get the other. And then what we're going for right now is, how do we get this multiplier? How do we get this multiplier? Well, you take the equation, 1 over MPS. 1 over MPS. So 1 over MPS here, if you do the math. Now, you can pump it in a calculator. After you get comfortable doing these, the math becomes relatively easy. You kind of just get used to 0.1, 0.2. There's like common MPSs. But to start, an easy way, if you're like, oh, I don't know how to do that, 1 divided by 0.1, one way you can do it is just multiply both numbers by 10, okay? So if we do that, 1 times 10 is 10, and 0.1 times 10 is 1. And then 10 over 1 is what? 10, okay? So what that's saying is the multiplier, and we're going to talk about exactly what that means, but the multiplier, if the marginal propensity to save is 0.1, well, think about that. They're spending a lot of that money. They're not putting a whole lot in the savings, so that money is going to multiply. It's going to have a ripple effect. And if you don't understand the concept of ripple effect, check out another video, but this is figuring out the multiplier, okay? So the multiplier here would be 10. Now, what if you're given, okay, what if you are given, for example, the marginal propensity to consume, okay? If you're given the marginal propensity to consume, you can go back and get the marginal propensity to save, because the marginal propensity to save is what you need for the equation. So if it's 0.8, then what should the marginal propensity to save be? It should be 0.2, right? Because that would make 1. So marginal propensity to save, 0.2, which would mean, if you do the math, our multiplier, our spending multiplier, is 5, okay? So if you get that, you should be able to get the multiplier, which explains the ripple effect, for all of these. So I'm going to step out of the way and see if you can do that, okay? Did you get it? I hope so. Let's take a look. So we'll start here. MPS is 0.2. We don't even need the MPC, okay? But you might be asked it, so it's good to know. So if the MPS is 0.2, that means that MPC has got to be 0.8. So 1 over 0.2, well, we already did that. It's right here. It's 5. Okay, so you kind of find out that there's some common ones. Now, if it's 0.5, if the MPS is 0.5, well, your MPC's got to be 0.5, because they have to equal 1. And 1 over 0.5, do the math, what is it? 2. Like I said, if having a denominator of like a fraction is confusing to you, play with the calculator. You eventually kind of get the hang of it. But if you multiply both of them by 10, then that's a better chance to get you a whole number, just like I did right there. All right, what if your MPC, well, you should be able to figure that out already. MPC is 0.5, So it's this exact same answer right here. MPS is 0.5, so 2. If your MPC is 1, now think about that. Are you consuming a lot of that money? No, you're only consuming 10%. You're saving almost everything, 90%. So 0.9. So the math there isn't like, you probably need a calculator for that, but it ends up being 1.11. 0.2 means you're gonna save 0.8 or 80% of it, and this ends up being 1.25. And 0.9 means your MPS is back to 0.1, which is above here, which means your multiplier is 10. And it's logical, right? If the ripple effect is larger if you're going to consume more of that. So you could look at this as like an individual's marginal propensity to consume, or like a whole group of people, a whole group of like a society, like Wisconsin or the United States. What is Wisconsin's marginal propensity to consume? What is the United States? What is their marginal propensity to consume? Okay, and this tells us how much of a ripple effect spending is going to have, which we're going to want to know when we get into what? Government spending, to understand how much that's going to affect the economy. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. Till next time.